Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing Organically for Wholesale Markets. Today we will talk about harvesting. For today's episode, we're going to join Deana Haines in Scott County, Virginia. Deana is a first-year grower who grew delicata and acorn squash. Unfortunately, most of Deana's delicata squash were compromised by downy mildew. Her acorn squash turned out perfect. We're going to take a look at both those squashes and discuss when you should harvest them and the best practices to do so.
Ah, there's a pretty one. Perfect size to it, perfect shape. Got that little bit of orange. You're not supposed to have more than a $50 size of orange on them. Usually if they're on the plastic, they're usually almost all black. That's got that typical acorn shape. That's the beauty. This is a number one all the way. Everything about it. Perfect shape, good size. Just a wee bit of orange on it. Beautiful. These are just based on the size. One like this where the stem is still small. You can see how the stem's real tiny on these. And the fruit's small, in my opinion, so I'm going to let them go. This one, it's not real big, but you can see the stem is bigger. And I can feel it when I cut it that it's ready. It's good and hard. A little orange spot on it, just like they're supposed to have. Here again, there's all different sizes on this one, and these are kind of little. I'm going to let them go. It's a better one. It's got a nice big stem. Can't really see how big it is, but beautiful. Beautiful. I love these acorns. They're all little. For me, I ain't picking them yet. I'll come back another time. Give them a few days. Well, it's got a little stem, but it looks like it's got, the color looks ready. It's a little green. But what I took in, and what I've seen other people bring in, these are actually a pretty good size. I would consider it an average size though, and when you can get them where they're almost all black, beautiful. You're supposed to have about 1 inch a stem, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inches is what I read, but 1.5 inches looks way too long to me. So I like to keep them a little shorter at 3/4 to 1 inch. And you don't want them jabbing each other in transport either, so it's better to keep them real flat across the top like that so they don't poke into each other. Here, I'll pick this one because it's little, just to show you that I wouldn't normally pick something this size. You can see it's not a big difference, but it is a little bit small. You can see the difference in the stem. I would let the stem get a little bit more mature. And that one's all black. But I've noticed that sometimes when you cut into them, if the stem feels a little soft, they're just not ready. This one has a dent in it. And looks like something got against it. You can see it. I would guess that it's going to be number 2 because of the deformed shape. But sometimes I pick them and it'll be a little green, like a pale green, and from what I read that means they're not really ready, but the stem feels hard, so I take them anyway. I definitely want to do acorns again. I was just so proud of the acorns. They did so well. The delicata, I don't recommend anybody to do it unless they have a big family or a lot of helpers. It takes a lot of people to pick delicata. This is where the delicatas got hit really hard with the mildew. A lot of these they didn't mature. Not long enough, the green lines didn't fill out on them, so they weren't ready, and odd shape. This one could be picked, but it's barely long enough. That's probably only about 6 inches. They need to be between 7 and 9 inches. And this one's mature. It's got the right creamy color, and it's got the good dark stripes, but it's too short. For some reason, I've got some in here that never developed any green stripes on them, but I know they're ripe. But I'll just take them in the house and we'll eat them. We'll eat them ourselves. I just saw the perfect one. This is what they should look like. This is perfect in every way. It's got the right shape, the right thickness, the right length, and the right color. But there's very few that look like that. It's a perfect one. These little ones. I'm going to try taking some of these in the house and eating them just to see what they're like. But I can't, they might go as a number 2, but I can't sell them as organic number 1s. Sad. Very sad. When they grow crooked like that, and they're supposed to be real straight, when they grow crooked, it's all about what happens during the pollination process. And he cut one open when he was here that was curved like that, and there was no seeds on this side of it. There was only seeds over here, so when it was pollinated, it was only pollinated on this side. This one's good. It's got a little bit of a curve to it where it didn't pollinate on this side, but it's still a good one. It's got the dark stripes. It's got that creamy color. I always try to keep the truck parked in the shade while it's waiting to be filled, and then after I get my bins full, I'll usually just drive down there and put the bins on the truck and bring it back to the shade, and then fill the big bins and the little bins. I always try to set them in here so there's no stems jagging into the next one, because that would make a number 1 a number 2. I try not to go too deep with them. I'm not sure if you can, but if you go too deep, you're putting so much weight on the bottom, and then you go bouncing out the road, and I would just rather be safe than sorry. It takes a long time to do it like this, but these things are money. You gotta take care of them right up until they go into the box at the warehouse. And so here's the number 2. What a shame, too. That was a pretty one. But it's got a hole. Probably where it was just sitting in dirt, there was probably a rock under it, and as it grew, it just probably wore into it. And that's that.
Deana mentioned number 1 and number 2. These are the USDA grades for produce. A number 1, in short, is the perfect produce. It has no damage or disease and is the perfect shape, size, maturity, and weight. A number 2 has minor damage but no disease and may be a little misshapen. For more information about grading, check out our future video series all about it, as well as next episode when we join Deana grading her acorn squash at Appalachian Harvest. Hope to see you then on Growing Organically for Wholesale Markets.